Hello, this is Professor Brown Cedarberg, and we're going to be looking at concatenation in the processing of strings. I've developed an outline of a program here, and we've got it is called Demo Concatenation, and I've declared a few variables, an int a with a value of 5, an int b with a value of 9 plus 3, so that's 12, and then a string s1 with the value of hello world, s2 I am, and s3 years old. Now we know that we can print to the screen using the print or println methods. So with system.out.print, and we'll use println, I can print out the value stored in a space or a specific value that I pass as an argument. So I can pass hello world in as an argument to the method println, and what will be printed to the screen will be hello world. I can also pass into system.out.println the value of a string as saved in namespace, so I could print out hello world that way. So little error there. Let's try to compile again, and I have a clean compile, and now we'll run. And we see that I have printed to the screen hello world. Hello world as here, specifically passed in as a string literal, and then here the value stored in this named space. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to let's print out the value of b. So let's do system.out.println, and I'm going to print out the value stored in b. And I know this value stored in b is 9 plus 3, so now I compile, and then I run, and we'll see that what's printed to the screen is indeed 12. I can also print to the screen a value that is the result of the addition of two numbers. So let me add a plus b. And so I will be adding a plus b. That should give me 5 plus 12. I should have printed out 17. So I'll compile, and we'll write again. We'll run again, and I have 17 printed out. Now I could also print to the screen this. I could add to what's stored in a, that's 5. I'm going to add 11, the value 11. And so I expect to have printed to the screen the value 16. And indeed I do. Now, what I've done thus far is I've printed to the screen values stored in named spaces or string literals, or values that are the result of a computation. What I'd like to do is I'd like to print out to the screen the phrase hello world, I am, and then either the value stored in A or B, and followed by years old. Now what we've done in these two lines of code is use the plus sign. We've used the plus sign as the arithmetic addition operator. The plus sign is overloaded in Java. It's overloaded in that it can be this arithmetic plus sign, but also the concatenation operator. The concatenation operator works like this. I'll pass to system.out.println the value stored in S1 and the value stored in S2. I'm going to pass S1 as I did here. What I'd like to do is have immediately following it the value stored in S2. So I'm going to use the plus sign as the concatenation operator. I can't add two strings together. I can't do that. But what I can do is have one string immediately follow the other, in this the argument passed to println. Now I will compile this and then run it, and I think what I'll have printed out will be hello world, I am. And let's run that, and that's indeed what I have. Notice that I have no space in between hello world, what's stored in S1, and I am, what's stored in S2. I can change that, I can correct that, make it a little nicer printout by concatenating in between those two strings a blank space. My blank space is indicated by this a quotation mark with a blank space in between. So now when I compile and then run, I have concatenated those three strings, hello world, stored in S1, a string that is a single space, and then the value stored in S2, which is I am. What I'd like to do is I'd like to then say how many years old I am. So let me build this out a bit, and I'll do it this way. I have hello world, I am. What I'd like to do is I'd like to say how many years old I am, and I'm going to say that I am, let's make me, I'll say I can be, I'm 8 years old. I'm not going to use one of the values stored here. Right now I'm going to put an actual value. And so then I'll concatenate the value stored in S3. Whoops, sorry, didn't need to do that. So I have S1, a space, S2, the value 8, and S3. Let's see what this looks like. I have hello world I am, the value 8 was printed, but then notice that I have the no space in between. Well, we can solve that pretty easily by just adding some spaces. And I'll do that this way. I can concatenate here a single space before the 8 and then a single space before the value of S3. So let's see what that looks like. We'll compile it and run it. And I have hello world, I am 8 years old. It works just fine. Now, what I could do is, if I wanted to be a more efficient programmer, I actually could declare a string that I'll call S4, and I'll make it equal to this, just an empty space. And so I could have this line look like this. Instead of putting that space in, I'll concatenate S4 and then concatenate S4 and concatenate S4 here. Little less typing perhaps, same result. You can mix and match and whatever works for you. Now, I've concatenated out an entire string using strings, all strings here. Here I mixed and matched. I had strings and then a value. I could, you work with this line right here. I could, instead of passing the value 8, that specific number, I could pass the value found in the space B. We know that's 12. So let's compile that and then run it. And I have hello world, I am 12 years old. Now here I've used a lot of strings. Values that were stored as strings. I can also concatenate string literals. So to system.out.println, I could pass the quick brown fox and then a number 22 and then another string, or I'll pass it, let's just pass it S1. This sentence makes no sense, but what I've done is I've concatenated here a string, literal, here a value, specific value, here a string. I could also concatenate a number. Let's find what's in B. And so my sentence should read, the quick brown fox 22, hello world 12. And when I compile it, that is indeed what should print to the screen. A sentence that makes no sense, but we see that I'm mixing and matching all these different things. Now, the concatenation operator is an overloaded operator, so every now and then we have a little bit of a problem in that we think one way, the compiler thinks another. Let's go back to this, our hello world, I am so many years old. So let me come back to here. And that was, let's just go right to here, this line. And I'm going to copy it and paste it in. And we'll compile, and then we will run again. And as we run again, we see, hello world, I am 8 years old. Now let's say I'm not 8, I'm actually 15. Well, I can take care of that pretty easily. I'll just add 7 to the 8. I'll compile, and I'll run. And as I run, I get an unexpected result. It says I'm 87 years old. You see, I pass this thinking, use that plus sign as the arithmetic operator, 8 plus 7, or 15. My compiler interpreted it as the concatenation operator. So it concatenated the value 8 and the value of 7 to give us 87. So when we're passing arguments to print or println to be printed to the screen and we're using concatenation, be careful to know that what you think might not be what the compiler thinks. So very often we have to be more specific. And I can be more specific here by this, just passing the 8 and the 7 within parentheses, so that this plus sign will be interpreted as the arithmetic operator, and I'll have printed to the screen 15. So let me compile this, and let me run it. And we'll see that what I have is, hello world, I am 15 years old. There's a lot you can do with concatenation. It's a lot of mixing and matching. The best way to learn about it is to play with it. I think I've given you a number of examples, and I encourage you to just practice concatenating strings and values to see how it works, to get comfortable with it, and to always have the outcome that you expect. Thank you.